Hi there, I'm Larry Short and this is MushroomObsession.com. Today we're talking about chanterelles. We've talked a lot about chanterelles. They're my favorite mushroom, probably up here in the Pacific Northwest. They grow in great abundance during the fall, typically September through end of October. And it's a 2-month window in 12 months to pick all the chanterelle mushrooms you can pick. And so, you know, I'd love to figure out how do you preserve chanterelles in order to be able to keep enjoying them throughout the rest of the year, through those remaining 10 months. So we're going to talk about 2 methods that you'll read about online for preserving chanterelles. That noise you hear is my water running. I'm getting ready to run some hot water because both methods will require me to use hot water. And those 2 methods are dehydrated chanterelles. In the previous video we showed you how to dehydrate mushrooms and dehydrate some chanterelles. Dehydration of mushrooms is wonderful because mushrooms are, the vast majority of them is water. Dehydration takes out the water and you're able to store them for long periods of time. Some mushrooms even improve in flavor. Chanterelles are a different story. It's widely recognized that if you dehydrate chanterelles, rehydrate them, they may be a little rubbery in consistency and not be quite as good. So we're going to test that today. We're going to rehydrate some chanterelles and see what they're like. And we're going to test it head-to-head against another method that people are advocating on the internet. And that is freezing chanterelles, fresh chanterelles in blocks of ice, which is what we've done here. We've frozen our chanterelles in some blocks of ice, as you can see there. So we're going to thaw these out. We're going to rehydrate our dehydrated chanterelles, and we're going to test those. We're going to then cook them off and test those 2 methods head-to-head and see which one works better. So I'm going to, in order to thaw my frozen chanterelles, I'm going to fill a metal container full of water, like so. I'm also going to put some hot water in this smaller container in order to rehydrate my dehydrated chanterelles. I'm going to fill it about halfway up. And while the other one's filling, I'm going to add my dehydrated chanterelles to the water. It took about 18 to 24 hours to dehydrate these chanterelles. We will test and find out how long it takes them to rehydrate and what condition they rehydrate in. So I've got it about half full. They pretty much have taken up the entire half a basin of water. I'm going to add a little bit more. Make sure they're all nice and covered. I'm going to set it there so that they will rehydrate in the warm water. I'm going to cover my rehydrating chanterelles with some press and seal, just to make sure I keep the bugs off and as much of the dust or whatever off them. I love this stuff because you can actually move it down to a mixture like this and make contact with the mixture and then seal the edges of the bowl around it. So very nice. So there's my rehydrating chanterelles there. Then I'm going to take I've got several of these blocks of, because there's not a whole lot of chanterelles in the block. And in a previous video I showed you how to make these frozen blocks of chanterelles. I actually, after I was done with that, realized it would have worked a little bit better had I left the level in the plastic bowls a little lower after the chanterelles froze. Some float to the top and are sticking out. That's what you want to prevent because you don't want freezer burn to affect the chanterelles that are sticking out. So had I left a little bit more space, you have to leave some expansion space anyway, but had I only filled up about halfway or so, I could have then added some more water and covered those and refrozen it. So that's what I'm going to do in the future with this method, assuming this is the best method. I have a feeling it is, but I'm going to test these things head to head. I'm going to put this back in my gallon-sized freezer bag, get out as much of the air as I can, reseal it, and then I'm going to add this to my large bowl of hot water here, just like so. It's going to float a little bit because it's going to have some air still in the baggie. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more hot water so it's right up to the brim. Right about like that, and then I'm going to add a weight of some sort on top of it. So I'll just grab something heavy, a good beer mug or something like that, and I'll just weight the top of that, sit it on top. If it's insufficiently heavy, I'll have to add a little bit more water to that. And I'll add hot water. So there's plenty of hot water in there. It'll last probably, half hour, maybe with the ice in there, and the ice will bring it down to cooler temperature. even with the lukewarm water in there, it will eventually, obviously, thaw out that block of ice, but probably the quicker the better, I'm assuming, for the mushroom. So I may, once or twice, I may replace that water with more hot water. So that's where we're going to leave it at the moment. We've got a head-to-head competition going between our large bowl of thawing mushrooms in the sink there and our smaller bowl here of mushrooms that I'm rehydrating. And we'll wait till those are finished rehydrating, those are finished thawing, and then we'll try and see which ones seem to work out better for our purposes for cooking. Okay? Happy shrooming. We'll check back with you.